Your knowledge of contract language is imperative.
You must know what a violation looks like if you wish to be active in its cessation.
It is important to understand that being active and knowledgeable affects your overall bargaining strength.
Together, we can forge a more militant NALC.
Good morning and welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, the podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city letter carrier with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. Today is the last episode regarding the Kim training. We're going to relay Brian Renfroes' general session messages. Just to preface this, I would like to point out that I personally feel like Renfroes spent a lot of time trying to sell us that he has changed his stripes. Considering an election is upcoming, I would highly stress everyone remember the entire presidency when coming to a determination with whether or not you support him, because election time is when everyone changes, so you should get the bigger picture prior to deciding if you support Renfroe. I'm afraid if he's being performative that too many members might be quick to forget the past. Please understand that it is not likely people change. I think it's possible. It's a desperate way to cling to power. Either way, that's my own opinion. You should develop your own based upon the facts. Anyway, today's general session took place on the third day of the Kim training. Also, everything I'm about to say is only me relaying what Renfroe or others said during general session. It's not necessarily a reflection of my own opinion. I digress. Ronnie Roush opened talking about how Covington Center will not be available 3 years from now due to future construction. David also mentioned something about how they've been trying for years to make Ronnie's jokes funny. We did a Pledge of Allegiance, which was led by Bowling Green, and Fort Campbell led us in prayer. David Med talked for a bit. He recognized the instructors and their hard work. He thanked Greg Feltz for helping set up the classroom structures. Then it was time to give out the Ron Brown Award. He said Ron Brown is the godfather of the region. He said to email him if you would like to be added to the WebEx invite. Ron Brown was a business agent for 254 years, he said. This award is given to those who display his union excellence. This individual is one David has had the pleasure of working with. Sometimes he's quiet, but he's always putting his brothers and sisters first. The winner of the Ron Brown Award is John Triplett from Indiana. John came up and said a few things. He said it was quite an honor and that he almost skipped the Kim training to go to AFL-CIO delegation. He thanked Frank Wilkes for mentoring him and A.C. Allens Jr. for getting him to be a steward back in the day. He remembers when he first started, they all said it was so easy and he brought mail back. He requested an M39 and an M41, and he said once you got knowledge, it makes a big difference. He said he appreciated the officers and the NALC. Next, Matt Tanner will present awards. Matt talked about the political fund donations again. He does an award for four awards for branches based on their size category and improvement from last year. For branches 300 or less, the winner was South Central Indiana Branch 828. For 300 to 999 members, the winner was 3126. And for the winner of the 1,000 members or more, the winner was my branch 4374, which surprised me, but that was cool. There was also an award for which state did the best, and it was won by Indiana. Yahtzee, Indiana's state president, thanked the state board and the branch presidents. Brian Renfroe was the next and final speaker. He said he was sick. I also noticed that he brought his security guard detail, which I wondered why he needed it in this setting. It seemed like an unnecessary expense considering that mostly people like him here. He talked about how he bugs the region all the time to get information and encourage us to appreciate the regional office. He says they're the best in the country and recognize how we always incorporate our history into our Region 6 trainings. He thanked his staffer, Ron Osborne, and talked about how much Ron does regarding route adjustments. He still spoke about Mandy Hankins as a second RGA and defended the need to have 2 RGAs in our region. He thanked all of us for our commitment and being here, and he stated that education is key to representation. He asked us to take it back and apply it to our members. For those people you represent, you are the union to them. Give yourselves a round of applause. He wanted to start with the implementation of the current agreement. He mentioned that 200 people nationally had a delay in back pay payments, and now they've been paid with no further issues. By the way, one of those 200 was from Roseville. How lucky are we? He talked about how we had a COLA in September and we'll be receiving a 1.5% increase in November along with our final COLA in March. He said there's been a lot of uncertainty with the economy in 2025. We have seen also a different approach from the administration, so that's been creating additional volatility. The future is unknown to Brian economically. He said it translates to our COLAs. Our formulas remain unchanged and not many people get the COLAs we do. Our agreement expires in May of 2026 and our preparation's ongoing. He started with the history of preparation and conducting bargaining. In 2011, we used a process that we used before where a small group comes up with proposals and had the executive council and subcommittees. In 2016, Rolando changed it to incorporate the e-board more. In 2019, it got more inclusive, and in 2023, we used the same process. Subcommittees would go over proposals and recommend things in this round. We will expand their role, create more info to review, and include the membership. For council subcommittees, we take all things part of our TA and divide them into topics. Start with allowing every council member to choose which committee they want to work on. They began with reviewing positions and agreements. This started in September and they meet weekly. Last week they dedicated 1.5 days in person every week, and it's structured that they meet. They draft proposals on the topics they choose to represent. We gave them more info this time than ever before. The concept of a rank and file committee is new, and we also have polling and surveys. Rank and file committee is made up of branch leaders, contract enforcers, and newer members, and we put them together and let them do what the council does. 30 people were chosen to be brought in, and they were intentionally diverse geographically and by branch size. We brought them in 2 from each region. This 2 per region was not intentional, but it just happened that way. Put them through a grueling week of collective bargaining. Brian then recognized the 2 we had from Region 6, which are Zed Waltz and John Seiser. He said they did a phenomenal job. They were brought in on a Sunday, and groups spent blocks of time on each topic. Ultimately, documented their discussions, and they came up with priorities. Economic doesn't have subcommittees, but these folks did work on the economic portion as well. We wanted each group to spend time on economic, and Brian is thrilled by what they did. They brought dedication and a passion and came to a consensus on a lot of things. We will have a different group do it again soon. He then plugged his own podcast. He asked if anyone at Kim Training got a poll request, and no one raised their hand. He said there's a reason why we don't tell people why they're coming, and it's for data integrity. It would influence the poll, I guess. We will do another maybe early next year. We are creating surveys for all members through the member-only portal. We need to be sure to do it so that we can compile it in a useful format coming this fall. Next month is the National Rep Session. It will be different in the sense that on Saturday there will be no workshops, but instead there will be sessions with the bargaining subcommittees about what they're working on, and we can give feedback. On Sunday, we will have conferences as normal. February 25th will be the opening of collective bargaining with a ceremonial BS event, his words. In January or February, it will be more visible with a campaign with the public. Rallies, outreach, all being planned. I'm asking about President's Weekend. It will not be that weekend, and there will be plenty of notice prior to these events. He said the economic portion never stops. We will have more discussion and information as we dive deeper. Next topic was contract compliance. He said in our history, it's been worse and better, but it's a constant battle. There's an opportunity he wants to tell us about. The OIG is close to finishing an audit of the Postal Service's grievance settlement payments. Before they began, they talked to him, and they are sensitive about doing things that cross over. He said you should quantify by union the amount of money and give a recommendation that they have to start complying. Punitive remedies is a tiny percentage of what we pay. We participated in their audit, and there's a report that will come out of it. It will draw a lot of attention. The numbers will be staggering. NALC specifically, because there's more of us, more violations, and are better at filing grievances. There's risk in drawing attention from DC. We must use it as a tool. How do we best use it as a tool? USPS will get communication from representatives with concerns about this and ask them for a plan to stop it. This is a departure from our historic ways. There's a possibility it will draw attention from MAGA. Let's get ahead of it. There's 2 new interpretive disputes. The 2 posted online and 1 more that hasn't been announced. 1. Step B timelines. We have difficulties with the process. Sometimes the USPS will come up with things that are interpretive, and that's what happened here. They said if it's more than 14 days at the Step B, it's procedurally defective. Can they make that argument? The MOU is clear that once the grievance is up for 14 days, it triggers things like backup teams, but Step B is 100% joint. We can't unilaterally move it up here. The other steps can, but Step B is different. We will win this case. Cases will be held pending the national interpretive decision only if management makes the argument with those cases. Number 2, the second one had to do with the national agency background checks. It resulted from cases in field where people were past their 90 days and the check came back unfavorable and they got fired. They refused to follow this decision and sued in federal court to vacate decisions to bring those carriers back. They will not win this in court. The most incompetent USPS department is law department, and they don't even do surface level research. Whatever the next national arbitration is, they might play this game again. This is why we are pursuing this for clarification. Number 3 is related to the joint route adjustments in SNDCs. The dispute arises in Southern Cali, where we had a delivery unit in the building prior to the SNDC conversion. The Postal Service took the position that they did not have to be adjusted like the incoming routes to the building. Labor folks know what it means when we said in our agreement that they needed to get adjusted, but it got lost in translation with operations. It's a weak case for them. We are creating an informal A training. It's a 40-hour-long modular class on different topics. This will replace our current Formal A and Beyond training, but not permanently. That will be coming back. This is the 2026 lineup, but the class may come back in 2027. This new one will be made available for the branches as well and will be helpful in shortcoming prep for events like this training we're currently at. Also, first significant piece available in the new digital format called e-learning. It's a big expensive project that we are using to expand access to education. We then took a break. Upon return, he talked about Sandy being on the council as a trustee, and he said her role is important. He said we had an election last November, and among the people here are people on all sides. Who we voted for on an individual basis is irrelevant. We have to educate to defend ourselves. Politics are rapidly changing. Let's talk about the reality and facts. Let's start with what has happened this year. He patted himself on the back for his Fight Like Hell rally. Trump wanted an executive order that hurt the Postal Service and conflicted with the law. I want to talk about what we did to stop it. A reporter confirmed with me that this was happening. The source was a chair of the Trump transition team, Howard Lutnick, now head of the Commerce. Not a coincidence. This didn't happen, the executive order. When we heard about it, I thought, how do you influence the administration? They care about the outcome of the midterm elections. That's what we want. That's where we went. We contacted Republicans, 30 of them, with competitive elections, and said, this would be a bad idea and would piss people off, and we will make sure of it. We told them to tell their colleagues it would be a political disaster. They pushed back on the administration a lot behind the scenes. So many of us called, they turned the lines off at the Capitol. On that Monday, we had a large rally for the purpose to generate media attention. As the days went by, it became less and less likely, and then we had the rallies in March. The threat was squashed at the time and have not seen anything come back up, but the forces behind this are still at it, so we need to figure out what is motivating this. DeJoy was involved in Republican politics. In 2020, he was the single largest fundraiser for the convention. He talked to Trump and asked him to leave us alone. He gets a call in late March telling him he should resign. He's hard-headed and said no. The White House called him 2 more times and he said no. He finally told me he had enough and he's out. The administration values supporters, and here's DeJoy, a major supporter who knows Trump personally. Why pressure him to resign? In 2024, he made 2 decisions. The Postal Service never charged the competition what they should have for the last mile deliveries. We started to see their volume decline with us, to the point where it was costing us money to make these deliveries. DeJoy gave them both notice of withdrawal from the contracts so they can come back to the table to negotiate a fair deal. There was an increase in our parcel volume from that, and the competition was furious about this. He made a decision that was in the best interest of the USPS. They had a direct interest in the Postal Service failing. They were clearly emboldened by this and saw an opportunity, and the first pound of flesh they wanted was DeJoy's resignation. the board searched for a new PMG, and it came down to two candidates, Steiner and Bill Zollers. Steiner has served on FedEx's board. He was in charge of a decision about money we saved on that contract poll with them. Steiner pushed his way in, and our board caved. I had a sharp statement critical of our board and Steiner. The chairman of FedEx told Trump to pick Steiner. For the first time, our PMG has been selected directly from a competitor at a time where it is most important. 50% or more of our revenue will come from packages. Steiner has been there since July 12th. On a Tuesday. Who the hell starts on a Tuesday? Said the right things privately and publicly so far, but he talked about the realities that faced us with him and told them that if we want things to happen, we will shut it down. Brian asked him, why would a billionaire want the job? It's terrible for you. DeJoy was asked that as well, and he was driven to succeed. He's not sure about Steiner. He's intelligent, personable, he's quickly understanding the landscape. If he wants to do the right thing, but the administration calls and asks for a favor, will he do the right thing? I suspect he would just quit. But the way he was selected points to him being compromised. It's unlikely, but do we have any Houston Astros fan? Any haters? Steiner owns part of the Houston Astros. He then talked about what happened to the millions of federal employees that have been stripped of their ability to collectively organize into unions. It was the single largest attack on organized labor. He compared it to Reagan's air traffic incident, to which a person in attendance yelled, "Fuck Reagan." He said this is way worse. He talked about how that could come to us in the form of our steward time being taken away, our paid steward time, and our right to take dues deductions out of payroll, as it happened to those guys. He talked about fighting with Congress about issues we avoided in the big beautiful bill. He said, be prepared for these issues to come back because there's only so much they can cut, and when you were successful in stopping that last time, you become a target next time. He talked about how he thinks the government will come to a resolution on the shutdown this month, in his opinion. He will ask you to remember that our government brothers and sisters are coming to work without pay and remember the impact it has on others. He then talked about heat safety and how they had extensive litigation through the Department of Labor and OSHA. In 2018, they created a protection plan, something that the DOL and OSHA was unwilling to force them to do. Intent is to introduce a heat safety standard. After several years of work, the Biden administration published a heat safety ruling. Trump did an executive order putting on hold. A group of individuals in his cabinet, his nominee for Secretary of Labor, was in opposition. I asked her not to withdraw the ruling. Let it play out. They have let it play out with field hearings, and we are now waiting on the final decision. I suspect that it will be watered down with modifications to it. He said the letter carrier political fund is disgusting how it works, but it's the way the game is played. We punch way above our weight, and we have $7.5 million in it, with only 13% of us participating. He said that he would like us to dedicate more than that so we can shape our future better. He talked about how they discontinued the federal side of the health benefit plan because it was costing more. He said there's 97,000 on our plan. People. The federal side went up much more because we are generally more healthy than them. Our average increase is 10%. We used to subsidize the federal sector, but now we won't be doing that. Open season comes November 10th, and our plan will continue to grow. He opened the floor for questions, and there was only 3 questions. The first guy, his son uses his allowance. He said this is ridiculous and something needs to happen in terms of getting enough money for our uniforms. Brian responded that he knows that it's a big topic in arbitration and we're working on it. We know what needs to be done, but it's overwhelming to implement. The second question, they asked about when will we get a JCAM. He said it was almost finished. He just approved the cover for it, and we will have one this year. The third question is, if Trump tries to privatize us, do we go to the Supreme Court to stop it? He said no. What we prepared in February with our consuls is challenging the administration's ability to do it. He closed by thanking us for our attention. He said we are the union. Half the room clapped and stood up, and about half the room stayed seated. Lastly, we moved on to raffles, and that sums it up for the last days of the general session. The only concerns I had, other than what's been spoken, is that I think that it is Mr. Calloway in the Formula A class for remedies. I do think he was being a little bit condescending to some people in terms of their escalated remedies. Specifically, I think he was condescending to Clarence, and I don't really like the way he spoke to him. But that sums it up. I just wanted to bring Kim training to everybody else, anybody else who wanted to attend. And I'll be incorporating my educational material into my future plans and future episodes. Hopefully you learned something valuable today. And as always, have a good day. We're going to end on the last 2 shout-outs that I received. And then that'll be it for today.
You have to hold it close. This is Terrence Utley from 4374. I'm running for Sergeant at Arms for my branch for this quarter, for this election cycle. I want to give a shout out to Steve Rubino. I want to give a shout out to Tiffany Davis, Joey Bag of Donuts, Will, and my boy Chris Tanis, who is a alternate steward in Sterling Heights. Thank you.
This is Joseph Solokowski running for OWCP, so get out and vote. Make sure you send it in. Send it early. Give it a shout out to Tiffany Davis and Will, Steve Ravino,
Terry Utley,
Roseville
and Big Chris. I don't know where he went. And also a couple guys out there carrying hard, Mike DeChaka in Roseville and John Geisman in St. Clair Shores. Keep it up, guys. Keep pounding the pavement. There you go.
Shout out to the Roseville Wrecking Ball. He is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God. We need Article 8 scholars right now. The Grievous Genius and the Roseville Wrecking Ball doing amazing work.
Brothers and sisters, this guy is good, man. He's fucking good.
And my boy Joshua, he killed it. Man, he's lockstep right now. He's killing it.